So, today is Dia de Muertos, that is Day of the Dead, a Mexican holiday that remembers those that have passed and celebrates their lives. And I've always had a fascination with the Dia de Muertos, ever since I read Under the Volcano by Malcolm Lowry at university, and it's a kind of sad story. It's a sad love story of a British consul in Mexico drinking himself to death on the Day of the Dead, mourning that which could have been, and it doesn't quite happen. He drinks himself to death obviously on tequila and mezcal, and I'm sure plenty else as well. Notwithstanding that sad story, I also really like Mexico. I bought this t-shirt in Mexico. I wish we could go back, but there's a pandemic, so we can't do that. But we can have a drink to celebrate the Day of the Dead, the Dia de Muertos. And I saw one that I quite liked. It seems appropriately named. It was called a Devil's Margarita, but to me I felt it lacked a little something that I decided to add and call it something else because, well, I've come up with it, so it should have a different name, and I'm going to call this the Margarita del Diablo, which essentially is the same name, but in Spanish. And it's a margarita, so therefore tequila. I'm using the reposado tequila. You could use any tequila that takes your fancy. You're making a margarita, so use the stuff you like. We're going to put 1.5 ounces of that in there. And it's a margarita, so of course there's going to be some lime juice. I did squeeze some myself. I have 1 ounce of that, which goes into my shaker like so. 1/2 ounce of sugar syrup. Now this is an interesting recipe. This particular drink does not have any orange liqueur in it, so that kind of makes it not really a margarita, but it's still called a margarita, and we're just going to go with that flow. And then the extra ingredient I'm going to add is, it's a really interesting liqueur. It's this Ancho Reyes, and I've got the green version of the Ancho Reyes, which is a poblano chili liqueur, and it adds a little bit of fire to the whole thing, a little bit more spiciness, and to me it makes it feel much more interesting as a drink. And I'm going to put 1/2 ounce in it. It's spicy stuff, and that should be just about enough extra to that. And we're going to need to give this a good shake, and I'll explain why in just a second. We'll give that a shake with those ingredients. I don't think my shaker seals particularly well. I can smell the spicy liqueur over the top of everything else. Anyway, I'm going to strain that into my cocktail glass that's right here, and I want it to be fairly thick. You can hear that ice coming in, because the thing that makes this kind of an interesting cocktail is a float of wine on top, and I think that's going to look really good. You can use any sweet wine you like. In the recipe I saw it called for claret. I've just got some Washington Cabernet Sauvignon here, and I'm going to try my best to do this by floating it over the top of the spoon. The official recipe calls for 1/2 ounce, and I don't know if I'm going to get that much or it'll be a little bit more. It should in fact kind of float on top of the slightly icy margarita, creating a really cool effect, and we're going to find out if that really is the case right now. And there it is, in fact does have it. Let's see what we've got. Oh yeah, here's to the dead.